Yeah, Stairmaster's taking a moment to ponder. This is where it's like, record scratch. Yep, that's me. I bet you're wondering how I got into this situation. Notes, we are back, and of course, Sunday night also means it's Phobie Viewer Breakdown night. We're going to be looking at a bunch of viewer games, see what exciting things are in store for us. Let's get to it. What's going on, chat? How's everybody doing out there? How's everybody doing out in chat land? Hope everybody had a good weekend, restful, getting ready for the week. You thought Friday night was January, not February? Womp womp. But I'm working with my wife to try and figure out what the scheduling can be, because I'd like to make Fright Night a much more regular thing. So what I'm going to try and do is set up something for March as quickly as possible to get it out there and just kind of get into the rhythm, get into the cadence of things, and try and make it a regular occurrence so that way people have the opportunity to play, to compete. I anticipate right now that Fright Night number 5, as in the March event, assuming it takes place in March, barring something happening, will be a different format from this one. I think the idea, I mentioned it in Discord briefly, but the goal is roughly go back to singular large event, single game matches, and back to Swiss. So we probably won't do Swiss plus X. I'm debating between having the map ban format and just having the maps be set ahead of time. What I don't want to do the Phobie bans thing for a variety of reasons, but I'm considering just however many rounds it'll be, like the Thursday before, whenever we officially get the map pool, it'll be rounds 1 through whatever, 7, although in the map pool right now we have 8 maps. So let's say it was 7 maps, because that's been the precedent mostly up to this point. Rounds 1 through 7 are map, blah, 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 all the way through. And then if we hit an 8th round for whatever reason, cycle back. Like to run in the future is only common phobies. Like literally only commons. Literally only commons and uncommons. Create the pauper format. The problem is I really do have to go through the list and look at them, because this again will hurt people with low collections, because yes, they are commons and whatever, but at the end of the day, like how many, there literally aren't any 9 costs. There's 1 8 cost. I don't even see, like, where is it? Barzilla. I mean, if you include uncommons, you get high 5. Then 7s, it's very similar. Like, you run out of a lot of things quickly, which may not be bad, but here's the difference. If you go into a game or an event, and you can, the night before or the day of, or even way in advance, you can set up your favorites. You can just set up your favorite to be, all right, here, and then just in-game, switch to favorites. That's way simpler than, when people challenge me and like, well, you can't use dimensionals or undead and nothing above this cost or below this. And it's like, okay, there are way too many rules, and I'm not going to remember those things when I'm scrolling, frantically through the collection to try and find it. It's easier to go, hey, go through your entire collection. Long click on all of these things, long click on all the other things to get rid of them, and then this is your new, selection line. And you can just flip between the two, and it's that simple. I think that's much better. The problem is that's still going to be a collection issue, because at the end of the day, people might just not have... I don't know how that format would look, but it might come down to 1-key trading wars, which is clearly going to get stupid very quickly for players that have way more 1-keys. It's not uncommon for a new player. Yeah, they might have a wide breadth of common and uncommon phobies, but just simply not many 1-keys. And that could be an issue. I don't know. I'd like to try that format. Imagine not having Jill. Yeah, womp womp. Womp womp. Well, what's funny is you won't have Jill. It'll be rare in this format, whereas we clicked on the wrong thing. Ted is common. But anyway, chap. Anyway, let's get into it. Quick aside, everybody, before we get into the actual content, I was accepted into the Phobies Content Affiliate Program, the content creator program, you might call it. Shout out to the Phobies team, and thank you for that. But the reason I'm telling you, everybody out there, dear viewer, dear listener, is to let everybody know that I do receive some compensation from the Phobies team as a result of being part of that program. Now, I loved Phobies before, and I still love Phobies now, and I expect I will still continue to love Phobies in the future. So look forward to more Phobies content coming from Random's Thoughts. So now, on with the show. All right, so here we are. First game breakdown of the night. Our hero here is masterdarksh. The notes here are another play that shows how much Attractor can be broken in a good hand. I think Attractor is kind of broken even in poor hands, bad hands, weak hands, however you want to look at it. But we're in for some cool Attractor plays. Get your clip buttons ready. Which, by the way, if you're worried about or concerned about, wondering about even, I don't know if the other two are quite accurate. What a clip button is, come by the live stream, link for that, and my Discord, of course, in the description of this video. Likes and subscribes do help if you're watching this on YouTube, trying to hit 1,000 subscribers. But coming back to the game, we get a non-standard opener from our hero here. I'm not sure if they just don't like the snowball opener or they don't have it. Let's look at the levels for these phobies. This is a level 7, 8. It's possible they're under level 40. So they don't have access to snowball, because typically you see a snowball plus cap this bottom point. Instead, we get a couple different things, and we get to follow up innocuous. Looks like bad guys doing a little prehistoric action, dropping the daisy on the board. Attractor's good even with no hands. I mean, it literally has no hands. It just has tendrils or tentacles. I don't know whether to describe them as tentacles, because we do see them as support, you know, when the innocuous family shoots, but they don't. You can see it here. They don't grasp anything at any point. I'm not really sure what the appropriate term would be. I'll have to ruminate on this. You know, the important things in life. But anyway, getting a little bank action going on from both players. Panic point advantage is in favor of our hero. Just kind of the build-up here. I'm a little surprised by the stabby. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Especially because we're assuming here that our hero in the blue trunks is... There's the Attractor. Our hero in the blue trunks is on the lower stress level end. Would logically make sense. Hey, stabby's pretty good. Let's get a stabby online. Plus, it does cover these 2 panic points pretty well. Bad guys can have to put in some effort in order to actually claim it and or push the stabby out. Like I said, I don't hate it. But the long rangers here are going to make life very complicated for bad guy. This is kind of a bold move here. I guess, well... No, because... Alright, hold on. Because as you can see, this daisy's just going to barely squeak by with a little bit of health. Instead, we're getting this set up here. That's a better way to do it. That's a better way to do it. I was trying to set it up because I didn't expect them to burn the yoink immediately, but this is a strong yoink. This is a real good yoink. Let's look at this again. So I was busy walking through a whole bunch of scenarios that ultimately didn't matter for this turn. But the notes for this were talking about how good Attractor is in good hands, and we were joking about how Attractor's good no matter what, but this is a pretty solid Attractor. You beat up the daisy, the Attractor actually offsets, so Boomer steps on the bones, and then Stabby here ends up eliminating the snowball. It's a pretty good turn. That's a pretty good turn. It looks like my clip button is once again not going to work. I don't understand what's going on. I'm going to have to reload the connection to Twitch at some point. Is bad guy? Yeah, bad guy, you can't stay here. Blasto is an interesting response to all of this. We get the whole family. We get the whole family. You get the Innocuous, you get the Attractor, and now we see Repeller. I'm not really sold on the Repeller as the answer here. I don't know about this one. Sparky is reasonable. I'm just not super excited by Sparky. Okay, I want to see the end board state for this turn. This is interesting. So this is a level 8. Gonna do over 700. This will live. There's no way for bad guy, given the current positioning. I'm gonna do this so people don't have the giant blue screen. Pseudo blue screen of death. There's no way for them to advance this and then get something to supplement killing the Attractor. So this is fine. I was going to comment on, well, maybe the attractor needs to get out of dodge, but clearly doesn't need to. And now we get the universal sign of surrender. It's not actually, but at this stage, whenever I see a sheep hit the board, it feels as though the sheep player is surrendering. Now, we mentioned earlier that our hero seems to be lower stress level, so it's possible that, I mean, their opponent put a... Hold on. Oh, baby. I'm just going to let this one play out, then I'll comment on it, chat. This one wasn't quite as brutal of a turn, but that's still a great yoink. Kill off the Jin Sting, over half health, or over 50% damage done to this Blasto. This is in range to start beating it up again. Presumably what they're going to do is just walk it back to the spa, where it's probably not safe there, but it's probably... No, because this, and this hit it. The only thing that could have been really done different was maybe put the Stabby here to push a little more damage, but that gets a double hit from the sheep, so I understand why they didn't want to do that. Presumably, the Repeller's going to get in position, do a little boopage, but I don't... Bad guy is just completely on their back foot. 6 keys left to, well, 10, air quotes. There's the boop. It was a brief 4-1 panic point advantage, but it's going the other way now. A yoink is online, so until that attractor comes back online... I mean, it's only one turn, obviously. The cooldown on a tractor is just shockingly short. It's something that I think would be valuable to change, increasing the cooldown. I think the threat is just a little too persistent myself, but it is what it is. We have to deal with the phobies we are dealt, chat. That's all we can do. Quagmire's the final phobie from Bad Guy. Still 6 keys remaining, but we're going to get a yoink onto the Murder Wing. Okay. That seems like a waste. For a second, I swear to God, I thought they were going to put the sheep where the Murder Wing is ending up. There's just no world in which this ends well for Bad Guy, right? There's just, like, no reality in which this turn goes well for them. The only question to me is, can they kill all 3 of these? I imagine they can get 3 phobies. It's just a question of which 3. We're about to find out. We're about to find out. When you have to bunch up against an attractor, like, look at this. Just making it easy. This is annihilation. This is absolute annihilation. I'm going to go back and look at this turn again, because this is just insane. I'm honestly kind of floored by this. I feel like Bad Guy must have been giving up. We gotta look at this turn one more time, because it just... You cannot bunch up against an attractor. It's just inviting disaster, and disaster is basically what befalls Bad Guy here. You get the attractor yoink into a dead Murder Wing, into a dead Spider, and not long after this, we're gonna get some mutton chops out of the sheep here. Because this is just... It's painful to look at. It's painful to look at. But, well played by our hero. Future me will have to clip this and edit it later because the clip button's broken. Roasted sheep, yep. I have to wonder... We were saying it a moment ago, but I have to wonder if Bad Guy just kind of threw in the towel at that point, because the whole yoink to set up that scenario made no sense to me. The whole yoink made no sense to me, because why are you gonna yoink the murder wing for, like, okay, you get a murder wing, who cares? Even if the attractor pole was not available, which it clearly was, they could have just simply killed the spider, right? I get the sense bad guy had thrown in the towel at this point, and it was just, all right, you got me. We'll move on to the next one. I'll march my army up in the funniest way possible, kind of thing. That's the way I'm looking at it, chat. I just don't see any other explanation for what we're witnessing. And what we're witnessing now is the bludgeoning of the remaining forces. Panic point advantage is technically for bad guy, but I don't think the lone repeller is going to save the day. Does snipe its brethren, though. Day 4 of no Xylo game, I start to forget how to breathe. I'm sure it will happen. I honestly hope that the change to the larger map pool is permanent. I'm of the opinion that I would like to see... I mean, I definitely want to see the whole map pool be available when... for frenemies games. I want to see the whole map pool available for frenemies games, but I don't know if I want to see the whole map pool available at all times for regular games, regular ladder games. I don't know. I'm kind of torn on that one. All right, our hero here is Virus. Virus coming in with the notes ever so gently, so softly. The notes are, I absolutely crapped on my opponent. So let's see what happens. We get a little snowball fireballage going down, and of course the classic one-drop block. We'll see how this plays out. I imagine that, you know, yeah, we're going to get the counter snowball and then it retreats. The only difference would be, like, maybe they send it up here so it can still get to the healing spot. Like, these are all moves that we've seen before. The follow-up jar is interesting. Get it locked down early. Cowbell clearly is going to take the point here. And the counter jar. So we're getting into what is a very common setup here on Eternal Monday. A lot of people don't like this map because of the one-key trading wars, because of the defensive stims, which I kind of agree. Yes, this is Rockswan's game. I kind of agree about defensive stims. Clearly, they slow down the game, right? I don't know that it's necessarily a problem to have those maps exist. We've talked about it before, where having maps that present and promote different gameplay patterns is fine. Poison Ivy. So this is interesting. We do, of course, have some one keys popping out in order to try and exchange the obvious. This is bold, though, from our hero, going for the triple panic point advantage as opposed to reclaiming it. Why do I say that's bold? Well, a 2-0 panic point advantage is better than a 2-1, which is likely what will happen here. We're going to get a kill on the Contortio. We will get a takedown on the Henrietta when it reclaims a point, and then we'll stalemate for a turn or two. The Tickles comes out in order to try and chew up some traps, but is that really necessary? It depends on what the one keys are available to our hero. So unsurprisingly, like I said, we're getting a switch here. We'll probably end up with 2-1 again, going the other way. Tickles will probably come into the middle once that Henrietta is eliminated. It doesn't really matter. They could have kept the Contortio. It does keep a key available, because then you're not expending anything for the Tickles yet. Probably be doing it this turn. I don't know that it's really going to play in too much. But for now, we're just getting pot shots going down on the various phobies. I wanted to check this earlier, but we're looking at 9s and 10s. A lower snowball. We're a little bit higher, basically, well, ignoring Tickles, but we're looking at a phobie level advantage for our hero here. Not a significant one. We're not looking at, you know, a 50 level stress difference or something like that. It's just enough levels between everything to say, all right, I need to be cautious about things. The 2-1 panic point advantage for bad guy. More phobies on the board, in fact, enough to lock out bad guy from putting anything else on the board. And our hero commits to banking. 11 keys remaining to 9. But our hero, of course, is going to Or excuse me, I think I said panic point advantage bad guy earlier. Panic point advantage hero, which is now going panic point advantage bad guy. So we're into that inevitable one-key trading war that everybody, as I mentioned earlier, loves so much. This is a somewhat stalematey map, but I've found with the Gravedigger openers, it changes. This also feels like a map that could hypothetically sport a honey bear setup. Even without a Gravedigger, you could break, or excuse me, not break, get a honey bear here, south of the heart, and then shut down these two and protect yours. It's probably a little more difficult than it might be on other maps, but it seems reasonable to do. But either way, we got 10 keys versus 8, 3,100 and change on bad guy's heart. And we're continuing with the 1 keys. This is a little interesting. Going with the numbskull, everyone's favorite head crab. Because this is going to take another 2 turns to inch up here. But it could be goading bad guy into doing something. This sort of stalemate tends to devolve, in my experience, into who commits to the first big thing, or big enough thing that it chews through a lot of your keys. Reason being is that then it prompts the other player to be able to place a counter. In this case, we're still trading 1 keys and end up losing a snowball here. This snowball, I guess it must have moved into position. Didn't really need to lose that there. Although if that's all the Venus gets, yes, it hit the 1 key earlier. Well, it didn't because it was tickles, but it's basically meaningless. Okay, so our hero decides to go in on it. They're going for Chuck. This is a level 7 Chuck. Not the biggest Chuck we've seen, but still threatening. Bad guy has the opportunity to answer. They're electing to go with a 1 key. Makes sense because, well, they're going to have to recap the middle at some point. And their remaining 6 are going to have to go into a Chuck answer. What that's going to be, I have no idea. At this point, bad guy just has to dive. I don't even know if they're going to have enough damage to actually do anything to stop the Chuck. Like, we're under 1,500 health. The Chuck from this position can hit the heart. 1, 2, 3. So bad guy reclaims the mid, but not for long. How do they win this? Well, our hero is in such an enormously dominating position that I don't know how they'd lose, but yes, Virus is the good guy in this scenario. This is, yes, to reinforce what Urk is saying, this is basically unwinnable for bad guy. The hilarious thing is you get the challenge play pull off the snowball into the jar kill into, yeah. Got him. Got him. GG. Debs, if you're watching this, can we please add a way in the game to see the maps other than in this screen? So that we can get, like, a full blown-up version in client. I can do it through OBS, but it would be nice so that way you could just scroll through all the maps. That would probably come with a feature where, frenemies, you can queue up any map you want. I'm curious why they don't just let you do any map in frenemies. But it is what it is. So Ergo and Eternal Monday, a lot of these maps tend to devolve into these 1 key trading words, partially because if you're talking lower stress level games or people new to the game in general, it's a natural behavior to go, I don't want to overextend because I don't know what my opponent's going to do. So the low risk, low reward play is sending in 1 keys. It's natural to go to the 1 key trading war. It's very silly, but it is what it is. A lot of the time, it feels as though people are just unsure what they want to do. And it's not, I don't have any idea what to do on this map. It's, I just don't have an overarching strategy. It's not an active, I'm so lost, I have no idea what's happening. It's, I know I want to win, but I don't have any idea of what the steps and actions I need to take in order to get to an end state where I am winning. So that's why it devolves into a one-key trading war, because it's, well, I'm winning if I'm getting more panic points. You are, but if you're not getting a big panic point advantage, and this goes for basically every map, if you're not getting a big panic point advantage and holding it, aka you're just getting a 1-0 panic point advantage, or what amounts to a 1-0, aka 2-0, 5, or, 2-1, 5-4, whatever. Doesn't matter. Just making stuff up. If you're not getting that big advantage, you're not really doing relevant damage to your opponent unless it's going on for the whole game. So on both ends of it, it makes sense to either eat the damage to try and go over the top, either you're banking, you're solidifying your position, whatever. Or if you're in the driver's seat, if you're in the bully position, you need to press the advantage so that you don't give your opponent breathing room. This goes back to the other conversations that usually Hakune brings up, where it's a matter of just don't let your opponent get to the 9 key, if you can help it. Obviously, that's not always going to work, but you get the idea. Okay, here we go. Urkevina, our hero in the blue trunks here on Lights Out. Still arguably my least favorite map out of all the maps. So the notes here are close game against an overleveled opponent, but traps coming in clutch. And Bluelian. Just sneaking the Bluelian in there, by the way. Oops, forgot to favorite it. I'll live. I'll live, Urk. No one's gonna die. It's not a big deal. I mean, it's nice when people do favorite the games. It makes it easier. What are we talking about favoriting games? So you can favorite your games and get them reviewed here on stream. And clearly for YouTube. You get the idea. Hit up the link in the description for the Random Slots Discord. He'll explain all the rules. But anyway, let's see what's going on. Urk using Graylane ability, even order of his submitted games. Yep. The old switcher you on the games. I see it. So we're getting a weird opener here from our hero. A more standard one from Bad Guy. Maybe not necessarily the bank to 5, but I'm picturing what's going through Bad Guy's head at this stage is I don't know what my opponent is doing. So I'm just going to go with a safer 1-key play and set this up. Urk elected not to send the Boomerang over to this side because it probably would have just died and then clearly gotten replaced. There's not necessarily any sense in just sacrificing the 1-key this early for no purpose. So instead, we're getting traps going down. Traps on this map are kind of obnoxious. And Venus in particular, because of the range on the traps, can start laying them, there's a much wider range of traps to be worried about. Bad Guy's going with Innocuous. It's hard to be upset about putting an Innocuous on the board. Now, here's the other thing. There's a reason that Gravedigger is somewhat standard on this map. And you can see where things are getting weird for Urk. Notably, Jar can, of course, hide behind the obstacles, and this is decent because the Jar can try and cover this panic point. It can shell the Innocuous if it walks in range. A bunch of things could happen, but it is kind of alone in that because otherwise you get your regular lobbers that are only hitting where this panic point is. Instead, Bad Guy is able to open everything up with Gravedigger and allowing a greater range of mobility. We'll have to see how much it changes the actual board state here, though. Creep is coming in, presumably as an answer to this Stabby. I've talked about it a lot before. I don't really like Stabby. Ooh, we get a Droney. That's a bold Droney. Urk is saying I throw away Droney here, but it's not a big deal. 2 keys is kind of a big deal. I mean, it may not make a difference in this game. But a lost Droney, because you're going to lose these, and it's whatever what are they committing to the board in place of it? Here it looks like they're willing to give up Gravedigger in order to reclaim the point. Now the Gravedigger, we'll take a look at the levels real quick. This is a level 11, over 1400 health. It's not going to game. Jar's powering up here. So we're hovering around level 10. Yes, there are things north and south of it, but level 9, level 10 in here, for the Phobies we're looking at. We're going to get a beatdown going on to the Gravedigger, but it's going to tank it. So we're back to a 1-key trading war once again because both players are banking up. So there should be some... Oh, no. Not like this. So, bad guy chose to play no phobies. They banked to 14. Our hero has 10. They could have 1, 2, 3. No, there was no way to kill this jar. So their jar, their snowball, not going to reach it from this position. Breaking this open is interesting because it does allow your opponent, our hero here, to get the straight run at the center panic point if they want it. The jar is damaged, but who cares for the most part? It does change the math on some things. If a stabby or something comes out, obviously now it has to even more so respect the range of an Oculus. That break was a mistake. Yeah, I just don't see a lot of value in this break unless you're killing the jar, which you're not, so therefore, why? Everybody loves that new emote. It's become pretty popular since you started using it, DT. So we do get the takedown on the Gravedigger. And we get a takedown on the Inoculus. This is... I kind of want to clip this and then put the... You know, the sound effect where it's like, oh no. Or the song, oh no. Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. And that's basically what this feels like right now. Because, yeah... You did not need to break that. And this just kind of blew up in your face. That's 7 keys for basically no purpose. Future me will have to extract this one too. See if I can find that sound effect. So yeah, there's some retaliation effort that could go on here. Bad guy is now getting a triple panic point advantage, following up with Hevo. There's only 7 keys remaining for our hero, whereas bad guy still has 9. So bad guy's not out of this. They have a panic point advantage. They gave up a lot of board position, but they have enough keys that they could pull themselves back into this. Although, hilariously, the stabby is still alive. So I actually like the taking of this top panic point because it's going to force bad guy to be in range of stuff with whatever they go to reclaim the board with. So they're going to try and do it with creep, which means that this is in range of getting hit by a bunch of stuff. If you claim this bottom one, you could force a rotation. There's an argument to do that as well. Yeah, there was no way for Snowball to get down here. At least not immediately. So Urk is playing this very patiently. This stabby was on death's door. A little bit over 3,400 health on the heart here. I need to summon Blue Lian to try through Contortio away. Also a valid reason to get out from under Phobie Lock. So the Hevo commits in. Fireball is down, but Stabby's in range, and we knew that there's a trap there. 1,800 health. This is still likely safe. I mean, you could Cassowary, I guess. Puppy's taking a nap on the couch. Although it's late, it's not really a nap. It's just nighttime. That's called sleeping. When you nap at nighttime, it's called sleeping. But anyway, we get a Klepto as the final phobie for bad guy here. Blue Lian teleporting across the map. I don't really understand the Hevo staying here. I mean, sure, I guess. Our hero's down to only 1 key, obviously under grievous threat from panic points, but it's 5, 6 phobies, air quotes, to 2. It's a level 11. Level 11 Murder Wing as well. But this is going to be a challenge for bad guy to make. Ooh, just walking into trap after trap. Trap after trap here. This is bold. So, It's not necessarily a matter of pressuring the heart. We'll see if that's how... Well, there's no way Urk finishes the game by... It ends in 2 turns. But putting it out here gives the opportunity for bad guy to try and reclaim points. This could be a bait just to pull them away. But I think we see how the game is ending. More traps. I thought someone was going to get pulled into Stabby's position, so I put the trap there. Fair. A little BM healing spa here. A little BM healing spa. A little AWOL action. Yeah, so many traps. So many traps. Hashtag got him. Well done, Urk. Well done. Venus. Seems okay. It seems okay. So we haven't had a good old DrTraffic game in quite some time. But DrTraffic has returned here on Urgo, our hero in the orange trunks. The notes here are Gravedigger Heart Rush with Ramalamia Cleanup. Aw, this one better be clip-worthy. This is going to be good. This is going to be hype. At least I hope so. So, DrTraffic subscribing to the Gravedigger plan on this map. This is another map similar to Eternal Monday. Honestly, I disliked Eternal Monday more than this map. And I'm kind of circling around to the idea that I dislike this map more than I dislike Eternal Monday. I'm not 100% yet, but I'm not sure. We'll see. We'll see. So we're getting fairly common openers, not necessarily, this is obviously good or obviously bad. Just, these are things you see commonly here. But bad guy being overly aggressive here, getting their snowball hooked. That's got to feel bad, man. I honestly try and bait either this to happen or get them to commit, overcommit onto my stim, and then I can trap it somehow, something like that. But it's got to feel good when you can get one of those things, because this is a big tempo loss for bad guy. This is interesting. Doc is turning into Luffy. Doc is turning into Luffy here, just all up on this heart. 2-to-1 panic point advantage. Could have gone for the 3, but obviously something would have died. Bad guy's answer is Stairmaster. So that does displace the Stairmaster to be... I'm going to have to slice this up. I was going to say the Stairmaster gets displaced, so now it can hit the Gravedigger. But lol! The Doctor! The Doctor! Like, that is so good. This is so good. This is such a cool play. Like, how often does this happen, chat? We haven't seen something like this in forever. Doc gets the savage terraform to lock him out. Lock him out with the Gravedigger still able to hit the heart. Follow it up with Crushmore. This is where bad guy has absolutely entered panic mode. Bad guy is gone into panic mode at this point. Access denied. I need to make that a channel point redemption. I have to make access denied as a channel point redemption. It doesn't come up a lot anymore. But when it does, it's great. Yeah, we're gonna see more walls. This is brutal. Like, timeout. Bad guy. Timeout, chat. Oh my god. Okay, so let's paint this picture. Your opponent has just aggressively pushed onto your stim, standing on your heart. Like, DrTraffic is literally standing on your wiener right now. Just standing on it, and he's just pummeling you. Blocks you out with Terraform. You have 4 keys banked. DrTraffic follows up with Mount Crushmore, right? Okay, they have a lot of potential for Creating blocks, breaking blocks, manipulating the board however Doctor sees fit according to cooldown, right? So, bad guy elects to follow up with, all right, I'm going to zap the Gravedigger, great, and then I'm going to get my own Gravedigger. Good call, bad guy. But why? Why did you break this block? You knew this was coming. Bad guy doesn't have lobber? I mean, maybe, but if you know you don't have lobbers, that many, or they aren't good or whatever, or you're not sure how you're going to answer this stuff, like, your opponent is clearly building a castle, and you're on the outside looking in. Why? Why would you break this block right now? Yeah, look at this. Stairmaster. This is actually, he's like staring at the camera. This is actually great. Look at people, like, look at this Stairmaster. I'm going to use this for the thumbnail. Look at this Stairmaster. Even Stairmaster's staring at us like, what the fuck is about to happen? Like, Stairmaster can right now straight up see into the future. Stairmaster is looking into the future and going, oh no. Oh no! Yeah, Stairmaster's taking a moment to ponder. This is where it's like, record scratch. Yep, that's me. I bet you're wondering how I got into this situation. They're both screaming. Yeah, Stairmaster is screaming with its eye. You ever see that or hear that expression or see somebody who's like screaming with their eyes? There you go. But seriously, like, I think this is just like bad guy panicked. In all seriousness, I don't like to beat up on bad guy ever, because it's like, look, everybody makes mistakes. I made some really dumb mistakes on stream. It doesn't matter. It's just a game, right? But this feels like a panic mistake. It's like, oh my god, I got to do something. I'm going to break this, and then I'll, like, get the other panic points or something. But your heart is getting pummeled. You're under 1,800 health. You gotta send this up here to get ready. Like, this should have been where Stairmaster is. I thought he was going to block the center of the board. But to what end? At this point, the game is just over. The game was over before, probably, because they just didn't respond in as meaningful a manner as was required, which could be a collection issue. It could be a variety of things, but yeah, I kind of want to look for this setup in games, but it just never happens. A lot of people just end up migrating to the north and then just kind of camping out there with whatever they have. The real thing is that the loss of the snowball meant that bad guy had so much. I'm just going to let the game play from here because whatever. Like I said, I'm going to have to pull this for clips, chat. The loss of the snowball led to the fact that bad guy had such an enormous board. Like, their board position was just terrible. Such a board disadvantage. Yeah, like, look at this. Now the Crushmore is going to roll up to the heart. We're going to see that. I'm not going to stop the replay. We'll see it. Double hits going down here. Get a little Rambolina action. Oh my god. When was the last time we saw a Rambolina, chat? Let alone a winning Rambolina. Look at this heart. I love when the heart's about to go down like that. Alright, so bad guy's getting cute here. Because they're like, oh, well, I'll block the heart. I'm covering the stim. I'm gonna beat up their phobies. Look at all the damage I'm putting down on this Rambolina. Chats, yeah, you're picking up what's happening. Boom! Get out the way. Got him. Got him. Well done, Doc. That was a fun game. That was a really fun game. If it wasn't for that Rambo, bad guy probably lives. Yeah, but here's the thing. A lot of those scenarios, yeah, there are scenarios where it's like, whew, I just lucked out that I happened to have done this by mistake almost. couple turns before. In this case, I feel like Doc was possibly planning it. Like, I don't know if Doc counted it out to be like, oh, well, the Rambolina is going to get this exact amount. But I could see Doc have already had this game plan in mind where it's, I'm going to go Rambo regardless kind of thing. Or as Doc saying in chat, there's a reason I dropped Rambo. I knew it might be needed where, yeah, that is a super mobile phobie. So I'm going to get it ramped up and ready to go. It's entirely possible. Like, if that Rambo dies, if it whiffs by 1 and the Rambo dies, yeah, Doc might lose that game. But that's actually really fun. And honestly, it kind of makes me think more about Rambolina in the sense that maybe the Boop isn't as relevant as a mobile, tanky damage source that has range. It's difficult to make that happen, and the Boop could be a drawback in a lot of scenarios. But Ramalamia might be relevant in a similar fashion. Not necessarily punching the heart, but getting a jar hit's worth of damage onto something at a range that you can't typically do. I don't know. It's interesting. It's an interesting thought. All right, so our hero here is Big She in the blue trunks, back on Xylo, just recently came back into the map pool. Nothing special here, just 2 interesting snipes here and weird moves, because I was 41, 42 to... Wait, notes got cut off. I was 41 out of 42 to get max coffee, and I wanted to finish that quickly before the reset fair. So Big She sporting the Bad Omen avatar. Gotta love it. Always point out the cool ones, especially including Bad Guy here. Including Bad Guy, Shadow Force with the Jammy Fish. You don't see Jammy Fish in general. There aren't too many players that have it, but I'm very curious how Jammy Fish ends up working long-term, because it feels like Jammy Fish is a supremely powerful ability, but people are just not using it, so we'll see. We'll see. So one thing I'll point out here that Big She did that I actually like to do on this map, although I truthfully forgot in the offline games that I loaded up on Xylo, was get an early crush more, because it does allow you to break these blocks, give you a lot of mobility. This is kind of... This was sort of the genesis. I know chats, like DT loves this sort of stuff. A number of other people have brought up the Gravedigger ideas on a variety of maps, but this is kind of what really got me into it, because I'm like, hey, this is okay on this map. And it pushed me to be willing to try it on other maps. But the more common thing is this standoff that we're going to have between the spiders. You're going to yoink things into these abysses. That's what happens. Essentially, Urk. Yeah, I mean, if you Google the Swiss system, it's a very old system. It was used in chess for a very long time. I assume it still is, but we'll need our chess people to explain there. I haven't played in a chess tournament in a very long time, chat. But anyway, so advantage Bad Guy here with the double yoink. The double yoink coming out. And one of them being a tractor is a big deal for a variety of reasons. Aside from the normal attractor reasons, well, I guess they're all the normal attractor reasons. Long range yoink. Long range zap. AoE yoink. And remember, on this map especially, the heart is a target. You can target the heart and make some bad things happen. We've seen a lot of people do that. So, in response, our hero drops a Hevo 2.0 onto the board. Oh my god. We got a paddles, chat. We've got a paddles. This is... we've seen this... I don't remember if it was from Shadow Force also, but I remember another game where there was a paddles attractor set up from Bad Guy. I'm assuming it was Shadow Force, but I'm not sure. So Big She here has got a Scritch going down. Scritch is also bold, but with the combination of the 2.0 could be cool. Panic Point advantage is Bad Guy. Our hero's down on keys overall, 10 to 15. And of course, Bad Guy is matching the 1 key with a 1 key of their own. Bachelor's hiding out up here in the north. Truthfully, I don't really like our hero's position right now, just because of the potential insanity that could happen, but 558, 958. Oh, it's going to be more than that, but under 1,000. Point is that this is not going to get juiced to snipe the attractor. I thought Shadow Force might have made an error there, but clearly not. So here's the thing. There could be a killer yoink that happens here because you can target the heart, thereby pulling these two in. It's really only going to be this. We'll see what ends up happening. It looks like we're just going to get a dead Bachelor into the Contortio swap. Oh, we're just getting some repositioning here. And Smiley. Granted, there's only one mechanical, but it's interesting on multiple fronts here. That bad guy elected to A, not kill the Bachelor. Arguably, it would have been bad because of, you know, the damage from the Bachelor might have allowed the Scritch plus Snowball combo to kill a Tractor. That's clearly not a good trade. You could have done something like body block with the Murder Wing, end up killing the thing with the Hevo, and then you're fine. But the Smiley's very interesting. Unfortunately, we get a Snowball croaking here in the north. And an aggressive Contortio here. This is a pretty aggressive Contortio. It's obviously just going to die, but damage that goes down on the Contortio means it's damage that is not going down on this Hevo. This is bold. Let's see how this turns out. There are a couple things that I just want to see how this turn finishes, because there's a couple things that are going on here. Okay. Okay, that works. I'm a little surprised, ultimately, by not spidering the spider, essentially. But it does make sense in... you have to displace this in order to kill the attractor. I think a lot of people probably would have gone for the spider yoink and just be like, all right, I get this thing off the board. But getting rid of the attractor is a big deal. So I think, ultimately, this was a really strong play from Big She here. The attractor is the big threat. With the spider yoink down as it is, yeah, you're going to get some counter damage. It's maybe even possible that your spider ends up dying, which means that you're down, once again, 1 to 0 yoinks, or 2 to 1. There's a 1 yoink difference. The point is that you are eliminating a tractor, which is such an enormous threat. It dictates so much of your movement, and as you can see, Big She was constantly lining up all the way back here. In order to make something happen, you're going to have to clear out that middle. You have to clear out the attractor. So I think this worked out pretty well. Notably, also, the Scritch buff is still active. So hilariously, this paddle's just dropped over 800 damage on this Hevo. How often do you see that happen? Mr. Tramples. So, the attractor loss was a pretty big deal, but Hevo goes down in the counterattack. I think I should pull the clip for the Big She turn there. Future me. Ooh, we got a juice here. Clearing out the Hevo. That's the thing. And before I was reminding myself, for future me, reminding future me, that all the damage that went down on that Hevo was still relevant because it ultimately led to a Hevo death. It led to the attractor death. Yes, you lost Hevo 2.0, but key advantage, positional advantage. There's a variety of things that were worth it for Big She here. I don't know about that Mr. Tramples dive. What level is that Scritch? That level is a level 13. Lucky number 13 Scritch. So this is interesting that this Tramples went in. I think the idea here is Shadow Force is now going to commit the Smiley. Well, Smiley's already committed. Because now it turned into, it's a real boy. It was able to actually move like a normal Phobie. Get the disease on the Dimensional. Get the disease on the Spider. 2 keys to 0. The thing is that I don't think... all of a sudden, Shadow Force is in a bad spot. Because I imagine both of these die this turn. Boop! I love the Finnegan boop. You never expect it. There's no way Shadow Force was expecting that. Yeah, oh no is right. That was a big old boop. 7 keys, just get lost. Get him out of here. That guy's had too much to drink. It's time for you to go home, buddy. It's time for you to go home. That's where they, like, pick you up by the collar, like in the cartoons. They pick you up by the collar and the belt and just throw you into the street. Hey, thank you for the follow. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. But yeah, Shadow Force is in a bad spot. I don't think... I mean, obviously there were some positional errors from Shadow Force that allowed Big She to take this dub. But I don't think, you know, strategically that what Shadow Force was doing was bad by any stretch of the imagination. Boop. Got him. Didn't expect the kill on the Attractor. We'll go back and look at that turn. I think that's worth a second look. We're just watching the demise at this point, right? Like, yes, this Crushmore hilariously survives, but none of this stuff is long for the world. There's not enough pressure going down on this heart, which, by the way, is at... I mean, it's pretty low. It's pretty low. But a very patient game. Very patiently played game from our hero here. Getting the juiced up Bo Mangles. Doing the best Killer Clowns from Outer Space impression. And down goes the spider. GG. I'm going to try and scroll back. This may actually... I should just go back into the replay because it's going to kill it. It's going to die. So we just saw Shadow Force advance here, but Big She actually pulls out with a pretty cool play. So you get the yoink on the Hevo. A lot of people would expect, as I mentioned earlier, the yoink on the spider that happens to be right across the abyss. But you're going to see why. It opens up the space for Hevo 2.0 to get into the center. And then ultimately get this Scritch hit all the way onto that Attractor that Bad Guy thought was safe. Turns out, nope. Big She's not letting that Attractor hang around. And with good cause. Well done. Well done. Future me. Hold that clip. I think that was a good heads-up play. Like, that was a really strong heads-up play. I think a lot of people would just fall into the trap of, let me do the easy thing. I'll just kill their spider. We'll move on with our lives. Poor Chuck. Bad Guy thought Chuck was broken. He didn't know all the phobies. We'll see. We'll see. Chuck on a small map seems pretty scary. I had to reread the notes for a second to figure out what was being communicated. But let's see what is in store here. What is happening? Oh, I see why. I was literally looking at my other monitor to read the notes, and I'm looking back, and in the corner of my eye, I can see movement. So I'm like, oh, there's stuff happening. But it seems not right. And then I look back, and I'm like, oh, well, I guess they're banking straight to Chuck on a small map. This reeks of, I just got this phobie. Chat, what do you think the level on the Chuck is? It's a level 4 Chuck. Ha ha! Rocket Man. Where's Luffy? Bad Guy's about to be very upset. Oh no. I mean, they are going to try and protect it, but Bad Guy, what are you doing? Honestly, I don't know that I would honor the Chuck movement here. I think I would probably move the Rocket Man in to just beat up the heart. But yeah, Chuck can't attack, like... This is brutal. This is brutal. This isn't a game. I would classify this as a massacre. This is... I don't have words for this. I mean, this is what happens when you skip your first 2 turns. I mean, Chuck is good, but imagine if it was any other 9 key, if it was Smother Mother, or it was Hevo 3.0. It doesn't matter if you skip the first 2 turns and then your opponent answers Rocket Man, because they're gonna bully that singular phobia around. Arguably, those other ones would be better due to movement, due to other abilities, than Chuck, who's... I mean, Chuck is very strong, but does a singular thing. And instead, triple panic point advantage. We're going to see our hero laying into the heart, and that's all she wrote. Ball game. You sensed it. You were summoned. There was a great disturbance in the Rocket Man. Game. I don't even know what to say about that one. There's like nothing to add. There's nothing to say. Oh my god. All right, we're into reruns. Of course, if you want to add to the list and you want to get your own games reviewed, hit up the Random Thoughts Discord. The link's in the description. Of course, you can come by the live stream, and likes and subscribes do help. So, in the meantime, we're taking a look at Urk here on Urgo, starting in the blue trunks. Close game. Whoop, I read the wrong one. Access denied. So we got an earlier access denied gaming from DrTraffic. Let's see what Urk has got for us today. Let's see what Urk has got. Throws a big man, just 11 out of 10 Rocket Man. It goes to 11. Rocket Man is the Spinal Tap of Phobies. I mean, that game was over before it started, right? So anyway, on this one, fairly normal opener from our hero. You could argue the bow mangles is a little different, but I mean, some kind of turret or whatever is notable. But bad guy has a primate on the board, and this is going to be weird because now we're kind of looking at sort of what Doctor did with an aggressive push onto the stem. This time it's primate instead of, well, previously Gravedigger. We're not going to see the lockout because it's not Gravedigger. But our hero is electing to go for the snowball. This is interesting. But bad guy would have to commit to losing 4 keys to get these 3. So I can understand it. Because the combination of these are going to shoo away the primate. You can't stay here. It's going to die. What are we looking at? We're looking at a level 9 primate. It's already at under 1,200 health. It's going to go down to these. It's happening, chat. Draft Bachelor. You know, you know what I just thought of? You know the Adam West Batman? Where it had, when they switch between scenes and they would have the Batman symbol spin and go, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. I can't do the sound, but you know what I'm talking about? You have this, the Batman thing spin. I kind of want to pull Giraffe Bachelor and then put that and have him spin while it's doing the Batman sound. I kind of want that to be a thing. But Urk is confirming that they couldn't kill the primate. I mean, yes. I wasn't suggesting that you should go for it, because I didn't think you'd be able to, but yes. So panic point advantage goes for bad guy, but this feels kind of like DrTraffic's game, where there was an early takedown that is now going to result in a significant board advantage for our hero. Not quite as overt, not quite as pronounced as what DrTraffic had, because obviously Urk's snowball went down. This primate is still alive, even if it's getting pushed back, but, you know. We're getting an army of 1-drops. I actually kind of like this because it allows for the retaking of a variety of different points. But here we go with the Crushmore. We're going to start the access denied gaming pretty quickly. We're going to build ourselves a castle. Everybody likes going to the beach and building sandcastles, right, chat? When you're a kid, you build a sandcastle. And hopefully nobody comes by and kicks it down. Another Stairmaster. It didn't quite work out for the last time that we saw Crushmores on Urgo, but we'll see here. Bad guy just eliminates the AWOL. We're now healing up to a whopping 520 health. Woo! Little woo. Woo. The first one was a little too enthusiastic for what we're looking at. Getting some pot shots going down. Are we going to get a block? We are going to get a block. So this just makes bad guy's life super complicated because you have to funnel through this awkward choke. There's no lobs online. I mean, you do have, well, you have a lob, excuse me. You have the jar, but you have a range phobie, clearly needs line of sight. No pun intended with the Stairmaster here. The beat up leap, and then clearly if Murder Wing goes in, it's not getting back out. What's a beach is a new phobie? Is Giraffe Bachelor part of his idle animation or when we click him? It's part of the idle animation, I think. I mean, it's when I click it, but when that happens, when I pause, like, let's see, I'm going to click on Crushmore. See how Crushmore, like, stood up a little bit? And they're shifting a lot? Well, not a lot. It depends on the model. You see how, like, Stairmaster squish there? It's because I'm clicking on them, but I think what's happening is it's causing them to go to their next frame of animation. What's a beat-up leap? Well, Primate is basically, like, it's a leap. So, there you go. I know people are just laughing at my oddball turn of phrase sometimes. But in the meantime, speaking of things we're laughing at Bad Guy right now because this is a pretty formidable line here with a 2-to-1 panic point advantage and, oh, by the way, under 3k health left. 6 keys remaining for Bad Guy. They can put one more substantial phobia on the board. They have maybe a couple more turns before it's really going to hit the fan. But they need to figure out what their plan is, and I imagine bad things are in the future. We're building the outer wall of the castle. All we need is a phobie that can dig so we can make a moat to put on the front of the castle walls. He goes, yep. Bad Guy can't win from here, right? There's just no way you can commit in and actually have something matter here, right? And great, you kill this. You can reclaim a panic point with the tickles you put out. These are the kind of things where it goes back to, again, something Hakune says a lot, but many, many people underestimate, they undervalue, I guess is the better way to put it. They undervalue aggression. And it's not, I'm diving the heart aggression, but you need to actively push and threaten things because your opponent is naturally going to, hey, I'm in range, or I'm in range of hitting your stuff, opponent. You need to honor what I'm doing. You need to retreat, or you got to make a decision, because if you stay here, I'm going to kill your stuff. If you don't ever threaten their stuff, for whatever reason, you're playing it safe, you're loading something up, you're trying to get something online, it allows the other person to just do whatever they want. And in this case, it is build a castle. How is Bad Guy supposed to commit into this? You don't is the answer. You don't is the answer. Because at this stage, all these things are going to die. Our hero's going to reclaim the panic points or just blow up all the phobies. And they still have 2 keys left. Now, admittedly, this turn wasn't horrendous. Just to get the jar. Oh no, get the heart, even better. You don't even need the panic points. Don't even need the panic points. Got him. Got him. This is why I wish the health bars were up all the time, or at least I could put little numbers or something. I could have clicked on everything, but well done, Urk. Well done. Building that castle. The BM Droney is true. True. Alright, we're in here for another... Well, I mean, I guess they're all reruns because they're game breakdowns, but whatever. Kratos is our hero again. Back on Red Rum. Hopefully we're not going to see... Clearly we're not going to see a bank to turn 3 Chuck out of our opponent because this one's a little bit longer. Level 3 Scritch for the win. The power of Scritch and plays he makes... Of course, Gonzo can't do that. And like always, thank you. Well, thank you, Kratos. And thank you to all of the people who submit games for breakdowns. Always a lot of fun. So, I was joking around about not seeing the turn 2 Chuck, but we are getting, or turn 3 Chuck, but we are getting a very early Klepto because of a turn 1 bank from Bad Guy. Get a little parched, chat. I should do BM Droney and bring it here to be reviewed. It's going to be your signature move. So we're getting a fairly standard build-up from our hero here, Ginsting, Snowball, Cat, as compared to Klepto, again, earlier, or early-ish Klepto, Henrietta, and Stabby. So we're gonna... Here's the awkward part. You can't quite cap this unless you want to sacrifice the Snowball, which is going to give time for the Stabby to get in position. The follow-up from our hero is an Innocuous, something I commonly lean into, and of course, on this map, going to make a lot of sense. You can get it into a number of positions where you can just light things up. But this is under 1,000 health. It's only a level 9 Innocuous. So, game, if you let me click on things. Almost 500 damage here. Over 400 here. Like, we're going to see probably enough to actually threaten this. I'm not going to bother counting it up. We'll find out if Kratos actually, you know, it overextends. The addition to the team here, maxing out at 5 and no banked keys, is Jar. Bad Guy instead is banked to 6, which is interesting. Bad Guy is very much on the brute force plan, I guess. So the answer is Ray Chargels, a level 8 Ray. Once again, granted this is one level higher, but this Ray cannot one-shot the Innocuous. It probably can with Splash from Klepto, so we're close enough, most likely, but we'll see. Something to keep in mind for people who are struggling against the Innoculuses, the Attractors, no one's struggling against Repeller of the world. These sort of answers could work. I'm not a big fan of Ray. But Ray could work as an answer in conjunction with things like Klepto, because the combination of the splash can be just that little bit that pushes you over so that you can one-shot the thing that's hiding back there. Now, answering their 4-drop with a 6 and a 5, maybe not great, but you got to do what you got to do. Answering a tractor, probably worth it. Now, given all the damage that just went down on that Innocuous in order to clear out Stabby, definitely going to be one-shottable now. I don't really understand this baby Snakey here, truthfully. And Kratos is in somewhat of a weird spot because there isn't really a clear tank on this team. There's no way for Kratos to say, all right, my Quagmire is going to stand in front and absorb the beating that's going to come down on it. Instead, you're going to have to get in there with a bunch of squishy stuff. But we'll see if this is the Scritch turn, because everything's lining up in order to beat down the heart. We are going to get a Scritch. So remember, this is a level 3 Scritch from what Kratos said. A little over 300 damage and a buff. It's a significant amount of damage that's going to be going down on this thing. Where is it going to land? It's going to land on the Klepto. I have to assume this is a dead Klepto, or you would not have committed to this. You basically get the entire... Well, you do get the entire team if you count the Scritch buff on the Snowball as a hit. So that means that the Klepto does go down. Suddenly, that offense looks way less threatening. Way less threatening. We see another sheep, chat. And I'm once again forced to ask, why? I don't get the sheeps. We keep seeing sheeps, and they make no sense. So the final phobie from Bad Guy is Clinico. Final phobie from Kratos is understandably Murderwing. I imagine this is a dead baby Snakey. In fact, it is. Yeah, 2 sheep today, and I imagine 2 sheep going in the wrong direction. Now, Few is still online, or Pew, however you prefer to pronounce it. I don't think this is going to be enough to one-shot the Scritch, which means it's just going to... This is interesting. I guess? This feels weird. I don't know that Kratos has enough damage to kill this sheep. Most likely not. Oh, never mind. Alright, sheep is dead, chat. I don't... I'm telling you, I don't have any more words for sheep. I've said the same thing so many times. So this is interesting. The juice was up I imagine Kratos could not kill this with a combination of meatball and 2 hits from here, because this would have been 1,000. You should have been able to kill this. 3,200 health means that you have probably like 2 turns before you need to panic. So Scritch is... Like, hold on. Let's look at the beginning of this turn. That's what I'm thinking, Urk. I think the game just ends this... Well, not literally this turn, but it should be over this turn. I think it gets extended due to playing too safely. But you could have put Scritch here, juiced this. You thought your Scritch was on cooldown? That makes sense. Yeah, since the Scritch is off, like, this is a dead Ray Chargels, and then it's these 3 versus Clinico. They might not even try and finish the game. But instead, it's panic time. Let's go recap some points. I'm not quite clear on why the Murder Wing didn't recap this point. I mean, this allows the Murder Wing to still threaten the Ray, but I don't think one hit plus juice is enough to get it. Yeah, this is... So this Murder Wing's probably going to die and doesn't need to. I mean, ultimately, and this is the other problem, is now you have to contend with a healed up Ray Chargels. I feel like this turn also could have been better. What I think you should have done was, if you were already in this position, I think Scritch should not have capped this point. Scritch should have been here. Like, don't juice it, and then instead just shoot this thing. In fact, is it just dead? No, it wouldn't have died, because it would have only been like 100 more damage. But that means that this can't stay to kill the Murder Wing. Like, even with the heal. I mean, ultimately, I skipped ahead, but the Clinico dies, the Murder Wing dies. Panic point advantage hero. The Ray Chargels is still pretty healthy. But at this point, we're just awaiting the end. Our hero is completely taking control of the board, safely takes the top panic point, so that way, when this happens, you don't have to worry about it. And it's just going to be a matter of chasing down the Ray Chargels. But yeah, the power of Scritch here was definitely on display. I think there were some other turns that could have happened that would have even more underscored how powerful Scritch can be, how much of a threat both Scritch and Gonzo represent. But GG, well done. Well done. But anyway, chat, we're close enough that I'll probably close up shop. We'll be back for Variety tomorrow. Hopefully we can wrap up Pokemon, as I always say, in like the next stream or two. I'm hoping. I want to finish the back half of Choo Choo Charles. And there's a bunch of other games that I'd like to try and stream. There's some that I'm just waiting on. I'm waiting for the game to go on sale. I do want to try and get some Duelist stuff done. There's actually... I can't think of the name of the game now, but there's a couple single-player games that I'd like to try. They're not long RPGs, although there are some RPGs that I want to try. For example, like I mentioned before, I want to play Tactics Ogre. There's a lot of games that I want to try and stream. We'll see. So, as to XCOM 2, there are other games like XCOM that I've been looking at. For example, Warhammer Battle Sector. I actually saw somebody streaming it the other night because I had bought it and then refunded it because I couldn't find any multiplayer games, and that's all I really care about. I could do that as single player, but I don't really want to. But Urtuk is basically XCOM with less that's XCOM baby moments, but equally ball-crushingly difficult. So I don't know if you saw the Urtuk streams, Monochrome, but Urtuk is... It's a fantasy setting. I don't know if you classify it as high or low fantasy, because there is magic, there are monsters and stuff. But I think Urtuk, if you want XCOM, I think Urtuk would absolutely be up your alley. It also adds the component of me being able to rename and customize characters after chat. And there's also a permadeath component. Any more Choo Choo Charles clips? That's gold? Yeah. I want to get that on stream again. I'm going to shoot for next week. So, for example, if I do... I mean, it's going to take probably all day to do Fright Night, unless all the games are very quick. In which case, I might just do Variety Saturday night, in addition to Monday, sort of thing, because I'm going to be doing Fright Night all day. I'll need a break of, like, just like a mental break, and we'll play Choo Choo Charles or something stupid, you know, something like that. Friday, I am planning on streaming, but I might get a late start. There's some real life stuff I got to take care of, but we'll play it by ear. I don't know exactly how long it's going to take to do all the things I got to do. But anyway, chat, I am very tired, so I'm going to call it an evening. We'll be back tomorrow, variety time, Pokemon time, and we'll go from there. Appreciate everybody that came out, but as always, everybody, thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and Black Lives Matter.